Hello everyone and welcome to the Good Old Gamer. So this past week is chock full of news that we need to talk about. So AMD is now going to support older 300 series motherboards. Dun dun dun, surprise surprise, that works. The 5800X 3D doesn't have overclocking. RTX 3090 Ti isn't only just a thing, it's also apparently starting at $3,500. And AMD is coming out with FSR 2.0, something that seems it will be a real competitor with NVIDIA's DLSS. So we're going to talk about all of that stuff and more. So let's go ahead and jump right in. AMD announces new Ryzen 5000 and 4000 series processors, AMD 300 series motherboards to support 5000 series. So short and skinny of it is basically every AM4 CPU will now be available on the 300 series via BIOS updates. So this really kind of flies into the face of the whole we can't get them to run on these motherboards that AMD pulled a few years ago. Luckily, we got them to put it on the 400 series boards, but even then they weren't really wanting to do that. Looks like all of the motherboards are going to get this. Unfortunately for me, this definitely catches AMD in a big lie. They just wanted to force people on their newer platforms. So while this is a pro-consumer move, it's only after being anti-consumer for a long time. So it's good news here today. However, like I said, to me, it's a little bit shady that we're finally getting this support, which could have always been there. So all those people that sold their 300 series boards to upgrade unnecessarily, I could see you being a little bit miffed, but at the same time, at the very least, we're getting that support now. So it's a good and a bad all at the same time. Now, this one came as a shock. We actually got, I think Ivan from Frame Chasers mentioned this while Paul and I were streaming last Wednesday. It's official, AMD Ryzen 7 5800X 3D does not support overclocking. Now, they don't go into details as to why this is. It just comes from Robert Halleck himself, so from AMD, that it does not support the overclocking features. Now, this is likely due to the fact that we have a 3D stacked V-cache on top of a die, heat dissipation. This is all stuff that we've been talking about. He's claiming that higher clock speeds don't make the thing run any faster. I don't personally believe that. I just think that they've basically maxed the chip out, and you could cause damage if you overclock any further. So they're just making stuff up, much like how they made stuff up about not being able to use 300 series motherboards with Zen 3. So you can't really take these guys at face value for their reasoning, but if they're saying that it won't be overclockable, it probably won't be, which I didn't think was going to be a thing. I figured they would want to push this thing to its absolute maximum to compete with Intel. But yeah, I guess better safe than sorry is kind of the point where we're at here. So it makes this a much less attractive chip for the hardcore enthusiasts that like to tinker and tweak and overclock. This thing's really going to need IPC out of this world to really entice those guys to buy it. But at the same time, it is priced at $449, which is a little cheaper than I was anticipating. I was thinking it was going to be $500, maybe $600, depending on its performance. So at the very least, it's not that expensive if you want to pick one of these up and just mess with it. Now here's the big one. AMD teases Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.0 coming Q2 2022. So this is actually a lot faster than I think a lot of us were anticipating because they kept very quiet about this. But this is what they did last year with FSR 1.0. We thought it was going to be late 2021, but then just in the middle of the year, poof, there it was. So yeah, the big difference here is that they're going to be using temporal upscaling. This is much more in line with what DLSS is doing at this point in time. Now, they are not using dedicated machine learning on the user side. Now, obviously, they could be tweaking their algorithm using machine learning, but that's neither here nor there. Regardless, you don't need any special hardware to run this, which means all of the GPUs that can run FSR1 theoretically should be able to run this. Now, the best example of the temporal upscaling would be something like the Unreal Engine's built-in scaler. So it might be something akin to that, which Hardware Unboxed noted was much better than FSR 1.0. So maybe it's not going to be quite as good as DLSS. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it should be much better than what we currently have. And at the end of the day, if it's good enough, meaning let's say it's 90 or 85% as good as DLSS, Since this is going to work on all GPUs, I think more game developers are going to choose to implement this code path instead of something proprietary and leaving Intel and AMD GPU owners out in the dust. I think one solution to rule them all is much simpler, much better, especially when it's open source. So I think that this is going to be a big win and a big way for AMD to mitigate or kill off DLSS entirely. So we'll have to wait and see, get it in hand, test it out, all that cool stuff. But like I said, if it's even close, it doesn't need to beat DLSS in my opinion. It just has to be close enough to where nobody's really going to care, and then I think this is going to be a win. Personally, I think that this might even kill XeSS before that even gets off the ground because it's going to be a similar type technology. Now, speaking of cool technologies coming to PC, Microsoft's Direct Storage API is now available on PC. So this is something we were anticipating. It came out with the Xbox Series X. Basically, it just allows the storage device to be utilized more efficiently for gaming. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is a Windows 11 feature, but it's not. Direct Storage is compatible with Windows 10 devices, but Windows 11 has largest storage optimizations built in, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, Windows 11 better, but still works on Windows 10. So that's really great. So this is just going to be a free upgrade if game developers decide they want to utilize this. Cool deal. So yeah, that's just a nice little added feature that should be coming in the near future. So now on to more good news. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3090 price drops under €2,000 in Germany, Australia for the first time since August 2021. So prices are continuing to fall, and we are seeing NVIDIA cards fall very, very quickly. Steve from Hardware Unboxed noticed a massive decrease in RTX 3080s over there in Australia. I'm seeing them here in the US. We now have 3060s around $500 instead of $650. So NVIDIA cards are now falling in prices, just like we've been seeing with the AMD cards. Now, real quick, just taking a look at the price of Ethereum. This is here today as of recording. It's down $92 or 3.5%, sitting at $2,859. This is actually up from where it was the last time we checked here. If we go to the 1 month chart, you can see it's up and it's down and it's up and it's down. It's basically bouncing everywhere in between $2,000 and $3,000. We see right here that it hit resistance at the $3,000 mark. The market said, nope, we're not going above that. So it seems crypto pricing is under control. The cost to actually mine the cards due to energy prices increasing and a bunch of other factors is making GPU mining not really a thing. Hence why we're seeing prices go down, which is great. According to the 3D Center reports, that the current flagship, which will be replaced here shortly, but the current flagship RTX 30 graphics card is now just 20% more expensive than MSRP. And I'm starting to see that on a lot of GPUs, 20, maybe 25%. I mean, jumping on over here to Amazon, Zotac RTX 3080 Ti for $1,400. This is only 16% higher than the MSRP. So maybe just like AIB pricing, maybe a titch higher. I mean, these cards are getting way, way closer to their MSRPs than we've seen in a long, long time. This one right here is actually the closest, being under 20% from its MSRP. I'll put a link down below if you want to check these out. I found this one yesterday, but yeah, cards are getting much, much closer to those mythical MSRPs that people thought would never, ever be a thing again. Now, with that being said, time for some rough news. If you were thinking about getting an RTX 3090 Ti, you might not want to. Canadian retailer lists Asus GeForce RTX 3090 Ti series for $3,683 USD and $4,148 USD. So they went ahead and converted from Canadian to US dollars. If you see here, that's 46.49 Canadian, which comes to the 36.83 USD, and 52.34, which converts into 41.48. So looks like these guys might be more expensive than people were thinking. To me, this card just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense here today. In a market where graphics cards are coming in at, 5, 10, 20% higher than their MSRPs, basically back in the day, you'd pay about 10% more for a big AIB card. We're almost to that being the regular pricing of these cards. So coming out with a card that's $3,000, let's say it's even $2,500, who's going to want this thing? We know that it's going to be at best 5% faster for gaming. Most of the miners that I talk to and know, they're not buying graphics cards. They may be mining still, they're just keeping what they have, but they're not investing in newer products. Now, they'll probably wait and see what the next generation cards have, and if they're significantly better, they may invest into those. But for right now, the 30 series and the 6000 series, miners don't want them. So coming out with the 3090 Ti, which is basically just an overclocked 3090, and charging a monstrous premium does not make a whole lot of sense to me at this point in time. We talked about it yesterday on the Technomics podcast. Links down below if you want to check that out. I had Ivan from Frame Chasers, who does a lot of GPU mining, got his take on this, and then Connor from Graphically Challenged, he joined us as well, and we got his take as well on this, and it seems like nobody's very interested in this card. Even the hardcore enthusiast, elite type people, when you can buy two 3090s, because they're getting closer to their MSRP, for basically the price of a 3090 Ti, the market just gonna dry up there. I think the price to performance gulf for the Halo product can't be that large. 5% more performance for like another $1,500. Most people are just not gonna go for that. However, there are a lot of crazy people out there, and I do expect these to sell. I personally think that these are going to be an extremely limited supply item. Personally, I'm probably going to try to pick one up in a generation or two when they hit dirt cheap prices. This is going to be more of a collector's item, I believe, than anything else. This is a card that you want to sit on your shelf. You buy it for like $300 or $400, and then you sell it off for $2 or $3 grand, you know, a couple years later. It's one of those type of things, kind of like the Radeon 7, the Lisa Sue limited edition one. Those things are like $5 grand or something. They're pretty ridiculous, and they're just going to go up. They're not going to get less expensive. They're going to get more expensive because people aren't buying them for the performance. They're buying them for the collective nature. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of these cards personally. I don't think you guys are that interested in it. You can let me know down in the comment section below about that one. But on the flip side, GPU prices are getting a lot better. I think right now is a good time if you absolutely need a card and you've been kind of gritting your teeth. Now's good enough to buy one. Like I just showed you, for about 15-16% more than MSRP. You got the 3090 Ti. A lot of the other ones are closer to about 20-25% over, so you're still paying a little bit of a premium, but you're buying them new. You're not buying them secondhand. You can buy them at stores. They're available everywhere now. But if you can wait a little bit longer, I'd say give it another couple of months and you'll probably get maximum value. Now, if you can wait all the way through the next generation and buy current generation cards, that's when you're going to get maximum value because you'll have everybody dumping their cards on the secondhand market. Retailers will be clearancing them out. So that would obviously be the ideal time. But if you've been sitting there going, I've been waiting a year and a half, now to me is good enough. If you need to buy something, now's the right time to do it because you'll be able to get them. They're in stock and all this and that. The next generation cards will be a bit tough to get at launch. Always are, guys. They're always difficult. So if you're like, well, I'll just wait for a 4080, you might not be able to get a 4080 for like a year from now. So you can buy something now at a reasonable-ish price. I don't know. Me personally, I'm looking at them, but I'm still waiting for a decent card. Like a 3060 level card for about the $300 mark. $350 I might jump, but somewhere around there, that's what I'm waiting for. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer. All right, and then the last point I really quickly want to touch on is the FSR 2.0. I'm very excited for this because I'm very interested to see if this or XeSS can supplant DLSS as the upscaling standard across the board. This way we can have every GPU out there go ahead and get the same benefits. This is my biggest gripe with DLSS is it doesn't even support NVIDIA's own cards. The 16 series from last generation were completely left in the cold. I get it. They, for some reason, need some technology that those cards don't have, but they should have had like a cut down version or done something for them. And even the older Pascal cards should have gotten some sort of upscaling technology there. But NVIDIA just said, no, just buy the new stuff, even though Turing wasn't very good and Ampere's been sold out the whole time. So you haven't really had a real option to buy those. So most people have just been like, well, you know, it'd be nice, but I can't do this. Coming out with something that works on all graphics cards is obviously the optimal solution, even if it's not quite as good. There will always be those people that'll be like, well, I'll still use DLSS because, you know, it's that little bit better. You know, that's fine. It's just like if you want to buy a G-Sync monitor with an NVIDIA chip in there, it's that little bit better than FreeSync. Okay, that's your call. You can do that. but that's a huge expense for just a little bit. Some people are going to do that. Some people spend, $3,500 on a graphics card to game at 4K natively. It's your call. You can do that. But for the overwhelming majority of people out there, FreeSync is good enough. It's fine. It does the thing, and they're happy with it. If FSR 2.0 can deliver that, or XESS can deliver something like that, I think that's going to be a much better option. Now, honestly, if FSR does come out here in the next couple of months, which we're expecting to see it pretty quick, that means XESS might just be DOA. Intel is so delayed right now, I just don't see any reason for anybody, being on board with that. AMD's been in this market. They've had FSR out. Developers have used it. If it's similar to implement, they already kind of know the process. I think that AMD is just in the better position to get their software out there as the standard much quicker than Intel, even though Intel has all the money in the world. So Intel's slowness, delayedness, whatever you want to call it, is definitely hurting them on all fronts right now. So Intel, you need to get in the game, man. Make it faster. Just make it happen. Their latest drivers are doing pretty well. Tested out my i5 11400 with the Xe UHD 730. The new drivers work. All the games that I test now work. So that's good. That's good. It wasn't running anything for a while, which was really, really bad. Now everything's working just fine. So looks like their driver team's getting on there. It's time to get some product out, guys. Get a move on. Get in the game. But AMD, good job for kicking everybody in the ass and moving things along. So that's their very good pro-consumer, sentiment that they're putting out there. Open source software that should become a ubiquitous standard, or hopefully will be. And then, of course, then with the motherboard thing, I'm just not going to let them off the hook on that one. A lot of people have. It's just like, well, they're doing it now, so we get support. There's so many people that sold their 300 series boards to get Zen 3 that clearly didn't need to do that. So personally, I'm a bit upset with the company doing that this late in the game. It's obviously just meant to hurt Intel sales and to keep people on the AMD platform. They would have never done it if Intel wasn't competitive. So I'm not going to give them a lot of praise for this. It's one of those things that should have been done at the same time as the 400 series boards, in my opinion. So it just proves, or actually they just proved themselves to be anti-consumer, anti-customer with that move. And only when push comes to shove will they be pro-customer. So yeah, like I've said before, don't be a fan of any of these companies because they're not a fan of you. They're not your friends. They're not here to help you. They're only there to help themselves. Even the FSR move is only there to help Radeon. It's not there to help you. That's just the byproduct of it. So yeah, we just need the competition, guys. Obviously, the competition is what makes this work. So, and before I get out of here, it's time to go ahead with the good old game of the day. But this one is not an old one. It's actually a new game, but it's an old school style. Alrighty, guys, the game of the day is Tunic. This is a new indie game based off of basically the old school Zelda formula, where you're thrown into a world, you're a little guy, and you run around, solve puzzles, and fight bad guys, and all sorts of cool stuff. I've been playing it a bit this weekend. I'm really enjoying it. But this is a game, if you've been watching the channel, I've been waiting for this ever since it was announced, I believe in 2017. So this is actually a very, very fun little game here. And I strongly recommend if you're just sitting there going, I got nothing to play, maybe you're done with Elden Ring, or maybe that one doesn't interest you, I would definitely give this a shot. It's a cute little indie game. I know a lot of people want those realistic graphics. Well, it doesn't have that. It has a very stylized effect. But if you are a fan of the old school, Super Nintendo era Zelda games, or the new Link's Awakening that they remastered for the Switch, those type of games, you're definitely going to enjoy this because it's in that sort of vein. And the art style is actually kind of similar as well. The game also runs very well on minimal hardware. I was using the UHD 730 because they went ahead and put a GTX 1080 Ti in Vega 64 as recommended. You don't have to worry about that. It runs on basically anything, guys. So yeah, either that or Intel's graphics driver is way better than I was expecting. So if you want to go ahead and check this out, I got a link down below. It's a great little game. I'm enjoying it. And like I said, if you like old Zelda games, you'll like this as well. Well, alrighty guys, that'll do it for me here today. If you liked the video, please smash that like button, please subscribe, please share with friends, and if you want to chat about this stuff live, Paul from Not an Apple Fan and I are live twice a week, usually Wednesdays and Saturdays, and if you become a member by hitting the join button down below, or going ahead and becoming a Patreon member, you do get access to our After Hours Techonomics podcast, which will now be a live stream. We will now live stream on Saturday, and then a half hour later, we will do an exclusive After Hours for all the members as basically a thank you for supporting us, and we get a little bit more off topic and kind of chat about all the things you guys want there. So it's gonna be a little bit more personal with you, and I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously, you guys get to go ahead and check out and chat with guests if they want to hang out and stuff like that as well. So alrighty guys, that's really all I have, and I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.